In this lesson, we're going to cover a cool country blues turnaround in G. It has some really cool melodic elements and some ascending lines and descending lines happening at the same time. It's a really fun sound. Let's give it a listen. I'll come back and talk you through how to play it. I hesitated there, but you just have to go back to the G chord there, the one chord, and that's the whole entire point of a turnaround. You've got to take the listener on a bit of a different journey. You're hearing things that you haven't heard so far in the progression, but it's getting you back to the one chord. And this turnaround does that very effectively. Now, I mentioned that there's some counterpoint happening where we've got the melody climbing and a melody descending sort of at the same time. Let's really strum through the full chords that are implied here and you get that sense fully. So we would start with G, and then on beat 2, that's where we would really start to hear this counterpoint, because you move down to the flat 7, this F note here, and pluck through the top 4 strings. If you pluck it simultaneously, that's really going to help bring this device to light for you. So here we've got basically a G7 because we got that F there. It's a partial chord. We're missing some stuff, but it's all good. All right, so now we're going to flatten this into this shape. Notice that the little finger stays on the G note here on top. So we've got this G7, come down to this C major, by the way. If you put your finger there, you may recognize it, but it's really a C major with the G on top, like we've been using already in this course. So G7, C major, and then E flat 7, followed by a G major. And if you put your D note on the second string down, that really fully completes this counterpoint melody. Let's listen to it. All right, you can hear a rise and fall at the same time. It's super cool. So we've got the bass falling from F, down, down, open. But we've got the second string climbing. Open, first, second, third. All right, so that's the counterpoint movement. We're actually going to strip away a little bit of that to make this turnaround kind of fit within the style that we're going for here. And it's going to sound like this. So you could hear that the chord tones weren't as full, but I really want you to see that and know where it's coming from. And if you'd like to use that as an option for a turnaround, go for it. It definitely has a great sound. But let's dive into the turnaround as it's written for you in your tab. So we've got one and, so that's just a pair of G's, low G, high G. Then we come down and hit the 4th string, that F natural, but hit it by itself. Instead of starting off with the chord tones like we just did for demonstration, I want you to hit that by itself. Then bass and top 2 strings for this C major, and now that's an E on the 4th string bass, not here. Here, we do want to emphasize this falling chromatic movement on the 4th string. So by itself, and again, you can pluck if you'd like, and you can certainly pluck that 3rd string, but you may want to keep with our brush up sound. And so you could just do a pinch and drag through the top 2 strings, okay? So we got, then go to that E flat 7, do the same thing, pinch with the brush up, followed by the big G here, just the octave from the low to the high. Come through, catch the B, D, brush up on the top 2 under this D7 chord, followed by the F sharp in the bass, 6th string, followed by the A note, and then finally open 4th string and open 1st string to kind of set us back up for the 1 chord. I'll play through the notes slowly as they're written. And a little bit quicker. All right, that wraps up our turnaround lesson. But before we close on this, I just want to point out, maybe clear up some confusion for you as to why we covered these full chords with the counterpoint and then we didn't use them. Well, we used elements of it, right? We didn't make our counterpoint so obvious as just these big 4 chords sequenced one right after another. But again, there's a reason for that. We sort of hinted at the counterpoint and stripped away a lot of those chord tones. And we can certainly keep our aggressive style going in this tune by using that brush up as a result of just being able to swing through the top 2 strings throughout a lot of that movement. But here's another point for you. You feel free to use that 4 chord movement in your own turnaround, as maybe you're building through a 3rd chorus, or maybe you want to end the song. And this is a great way to kind of have a big statement at the end. So take some creative license with this and realize that what we're doing in the tab in the turnaround as written really comes from this chord movement here, those 4 chords linked together. Sounds really awesome, and I bet if you work in the 4 chords in your own 12-bar progression, it's going to sound pretty awesome, and I hope you do.